Hello and welcome. Could the upcoming referendum in Sudan end decades of violence and tension between the North and South, or will it push Africa's largest country into yet another conflict? The predominantly Christian and animist South is expected to vote on January the 9th on whether or not to secede from the mainly Arab and Muslim North. The referendum is a condition of the 2005 peace deal that ended the 21-year-old Second Sudanese Civil War, in which 2 million people were killed. Well, Southerners are predicted to opt for a split, and the northern government of President Omar al-Bashir has indicated it may be willing to accept secession. But some of the most critical issues still remain unresolved, such as the fate of the oil-rich Abyei region, which straddles the unofficial border between the north and south. If Southerners vote to separate, residents of Abyei are also supposed to decide in another poll if they want to be part of the north or the south. So today we ask, how will the referendum affect the future of Sudan? Remember, you can call in with your questions and comments, and we also welcome your emails and text messages on the show. I'm now joined by Ambassador Daffa-Alla Al-Hajj Ali Osman, the permanent representative of the Republic of Sudan to the United Nations in New York, and Ezekiel Lol-Gatkuth, head of the Government of Southern Sudan mission to the US here in Washington, D.C. Gentlemen, I welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having us in the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ambassador Osman, if I could start with you, sir, I just ask on how things are set for the referendum and what's being done as far as making sure it's a free and fair referendum that will reflect the will of the people.
Bismillah. Allow me to start by expressing my best wishes for the new year, and may the new year unfold and usher with peace, prosperity and stability for our beloved country, the Sudan, and the entire world community. As you have heard many times, that the partners or the two parties of the comprehensive peace agreement, they confirmed and reiterated their commitment to have this referendum process and to accept the outcome of the referendum. So all the preparations are going well, last of which was the completion of the registration process, which has taken place 2 weeks back. So everything is going very well.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. Well, let me bring in Ezekiel Lol-Gatkuth here, and good to have you on the show again, sir.
Thank you.
Presumably you're expecting a resounding victory for the secession in terms of a vote, and I wonder how optimistic you remain that will all go through smoothly.
Thank you, Riz Khan, for having me in the show. Of course, I wanted to say the same thing also, wishing everybody a happy new year. And this year is the year of Southern Sudanese to decide their future. They have been waiting for this for a long time. Definitely the registration, as the ambassador said, it has been completed. Was credible, peaceful and transparent, and everybody is very happy. Now it is actually sure, everybody is actually very, very sure that the referendum is going to be held on the 9th of January 2011. And definitely the people of Southern Sudan are going to vote for secession. But
if I can ask you what fears you have things may not work out quite as planned. I mean, there is of course the tensions between the North and South, and the danger that violence will renew.
I think we have realized, the two parties, they have realized that we have actually been fighting one another for a long time. Many civil wars, and we have lost millions of lives because of this united Sudan. And I think it is very important for us to realize this. And as you said it, President Bashir has said it publicly, that if the Southerners voted for suppression, he's going to be the first president in the world to accept the outcome of the referendum. So this is actually a good news to us, and we appreciate his leadership in this.
Ambassador Osman, I want to bring you in here, sir, and you know we have a lot of questions from our viewers that come in by email. If I could put two of them back to back, they have a similar sentiment. The first one comes from Jonathan Victory in Ireland. He says, splitting the country in two by setting up another border, how many conflicts in human history resulted from border disputes? Most by my count. This could make things much worse for the region. The second email, which is from Mudassar Ahmed, that was sent in through our Facebook page, says, the referendum will increase violence unless international communities and Sudan work together to resolve the region's role in what some see as an international proxy war. And I wonder, again, taking this into account and some of the provocations that have occurred between the North and South across the borders, again, what you can do to try to minimize the chance of some kind of violent conflict being triggered by this referendum.
You know, resorting to referendum is one of the prerequisites in the comprehensive peace agreement, which put an end to the most protracted conflict in Africa. And according to the wish of our brethren in the South, the agreement included the right for self-determination, and the process through which that right for self-determination can be achieved is the referendum. So this is a historical achievement. It's not our wish that the south of Sudan secedes, but if this is the desire and the wish of our brethren in the south, we will respect it, and that will put an end to this protracted conflict which retarded Sudan for a long time from not being able to take off either economically or to join other stable and peaceful nations and enjoy peace and security in the country. That is why the visionary leaders of the parties of the comprehensive peace agreement agreed on the right of self-determination for the south of Sudan. As to whether the referendum is going to cause conflict and create violence, I don't think this will happen, because the visionary leaders in both parts of the country, they count on the commonalities between the south and the north, and affinities which link both parties and both regions, and they look forward to have a kind of a stable relation which can serve the best interests of both regions of the country.
Ambassador, a quick thought. Those commonalities you talked about that the leaders are focusing on, can they overcome what was basically a 21-year civil war and the kind of differences that have been generated between the North and South across a couple of generations now?
Yes, I think by agreeing on the comprehensive peace agreement itself, that proved that they have overcome a lot of difficulties. There are commonalities. I would say the affinities between the South and the North are by far bigger than any affinities or commonalities or common denominators which link the South with any other country in the region. Equally, the commonalities between the North and the South, I would say, are by far between the two regions than any commonalities which link the North with any other regions or countries in the region.
Well, Mr. Gatkuta, let me get your perspective on this, on how leaders in the South are trying to make sure that people see common interest for Sudan rather than the tensions arising between the North and South. What's being done to diffuse the kind of tensions that might grow?
We have been actually discussing with the National Congress Party as SPLM, and what we have been actually telling the world is that it is in our interest as SPLM to make sure that the relations between the two parties is cordial. And we have been actually making sure that in all the pending issues, especially leading to the future relations between the North and the South, are realized. And we have to have an agreement on the issue of transboundaries and also citizenship and oil, water, all of these are future relations. And we are basically dependent on the oil. The oil is in the south, and the pipeline is going northward. So for us, we need the North, and the North needs us.
Is that message getting through to the tribal leaders?
Definitely, yes. If you are talking about the Southerners, definitely the message is very clear. We have a leadership that is respected by all of us. The President Salva Kiir, he's the president of the South. And the messages that we are actually sending as SPLM, they are all being received by everybody in the South.
We've got a caller on the line from Georgia. Emmanuel's with us. Emmanuel, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm here.
No, go ahead.
My question is directly to the ambassador. Recently, the president of Sudan has been saying that he will be the first president to recognize the state of Southern Sudan. I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, Emmanuel. So your question is what?
Yeah, my question is, the president of Sudan has been saying that he will be the first president to acknowledge the state of Southern Sudan. and that there will be amicable relationship between the state of Southern Sudan and the Northern Sudan. But recently he said that if the South succeeds, you would introduce Sharia law in the North. How would that translate into amicable relationship between these two states? Because to my understanding, we will still have some Southerners in the Northern Sudan.
Right.
So how would they be accommodated in this Sharia state?
Emmanuel, that's a good question. Now, let me put that to the ambassador. So basically, ambassador, how are you going to deal with that? The fact that you have people spread across the country that way, and you have the risk potentially of people needing to move across borders.
I would like to remind my brother Emmanuel from Georgia that if he goes back to the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, it's agreed that Sharia law will be applied in Northern Sudan. And equally, those who are not Muslims, Sharia will not be applied on them if they remain in Northern Sudan. And that is why we think the application of Sharia law in Northern Sudan will not affect negatively the relations which we perceive with Southern Sudan in case it secedes and become an independent state.
Okay, Mr. Gatkus, that's the issue again, the law of the land and how Southerners living currently, or those of the southern origins living in the north, are going to deal with the way the country is run. Do you see any problems with that?
You know, the agreement, when we signed it in Naivasha, it was meant to address two things. One is to transform that Sudan, the whole Sudan that we know, to a better Sudan for everybody. Of course, in the agreement, we have agreed that the Southern Sudan will be run using a secular system. But in the north, they will have a Sharia law, but there will be a commission to look after the non-Muslims. But definitely, this was actually a temporary arrangement, looking into transforming Sudan into a better Sudan for all of us. So now, if you have Southerners living in the north and a new Sharia law will be introduced, yes, the question of Emmanuel is genuine. We have to actually look into it so that we can have a better law that can actually safeguard their stay in the north.
I'll get into there's some unresolved issues I'll get into in a second, but let me put an email to you that came from Sef Ruizaki, who wrote into us saying, Sudan is a country dependent on exporting oil, while 80% of the oil reserves is in the south. That's why a divided Sudan is hard to imagine. Your response to that?
Resources are there. In the north, we also have resources. We have oil, we have gold. And yes, in the south we have oil. 80% of the oil that is being exported to China, Malaysia, and other countries is from the south. But it does not mean that we are not going to actually share. We have relations with the north, and as I said it before, the trade link between the two countries will be there. Indirectly, the north will benefit from the oil.
What happens with Abyei region?
Definitely, Abyei we are working as SPLM to make sure that there is a solution to the issue of Abyei, because Abyei belongs to the 9 Ngok Dinka chiefdoms, which was transferred in 1905 to the north. The Misiria, they were not transferred. It is only those who were transferred that needs to actually be transferred back to Southern Sudan through a referendum or a presidential decree, like what was happening, what had happened in 1905, transferring the Ngok Dinka people administratively to the north.
Before I get on to more on that, let me get Ahmed on the line from the UAE. Thanks for being in with us with your call. Go ahead, Ahmed.
Yes, hi. My question is to your guests, both of them. This comprehensive peace agreement was signed in 2005, which is almost 6 years ago. And why do we have to wait until a few months before the decision? And all these problems come to the surface, like Abyei, the borders, people moving north and south. So we know that independence may take place 6 years ago.
Okay, that's actually an interesting point. Ambassador, let me put this to you. What Ahmed is saying is, with 6 years of planning potentially there, why is it that all these unresolved issues are being highlighted now? I mean, let me ask you to what degree these have been considered in the 6 years since that comprehensive deal?
Well, both parties, they agreed in the Comprehensive Peace Agreement that the transitional period would be 5 years. Originally, we think that 5 years is very short to make all the preparations and to arrange for the coming phase. But that what has been agreed upon, both of them fulfilled many prerequisites and according to the agreement, and they are doing fine now, and they are cooperating and collaborating, both of them, to resolve the pending issues, which we hopefully they would be able to finish them between now and the transitional period, which will end up in July 2011.
And Ambassador, in terms of, we mentioned there Abyei region being the very oil-rich region, there's still a bit of uncertainty with that. Is the North willing to let Abyei make its own decision and if need be, go with the South?
Yes, sure. But I have to here mention that there are two ethnicities which they have equal rights to vote and to determine the destiny of Abyei. The two ethnicities are the Dinka Ngok and the Miseria. They have been living there since time immemorial in the region, and there was peaceful cohabitation between them, and both of them should be engaged and participate in the referendum, and as a result of their participation, then the destiny will be decided, and it will be fully respected by the North. But any attempts to exclude any of them, I think, would not serve the cause of peace, because the intention is to have peaceful relations, which might lead very soon to reunification of the Sudan. I'm saying this because we are fully aware of the realities of today. We are living in a globalizing world whereby small entities used to conglomerate to face the challenges of globalization and complement each other. Mm-hmm. We think, as I have said in the beginning of my statement, that there are a lot of commonalities between us, and we need to put our hands together and to cooperate, complement each other, so we can face the challenges of globalization and also benefit from the opportunities that globalization offers for all of us. Right. We need the South, and the South needs us. I think this is why I am saying any policy of exclusion will not serve the purpose of peace.
Let me get a caller in here from North Dakota. We've got Pierre on the line. Go ahead.
Yeah, my call is to both the Ghost Mission, Ezekiel, and the Ambassador, New York. Omar Bashir, first of all, would like to give a lot of appreciation to President Bashir. The problem is, the question is, Bashir said he will be the first person to honor if the outcome of the referendum. He will be the first person to celebrate the outcome of the referendum. What is it that is so different that we, the Southerners, will start trusting what Bashir is saying?
Okay.
What is different this time?
Let me get Mr. Gadkut's perspective on that. How can people in the South trust President Bashir based on past history? That's what our viewers are asking, really.
If you have seen the statements of Bashir, it is also acknowledging the fact that the world is united to make sure that the referendum is held on time and the choice of the people is respected. It is not Bashir saying it, it is actually seeing the writing on the wall inside Sudan and also outside Sudan.
So he's being forced into that position.
Definitely,
really, to understand
yes.
it. Let me get your perspective on what the ambassador was saying about how the country really is stronger in a globalized world by remaining united. Of course, it is hard for those in the North to give up the idea of the South. How do you regard this view that a split Sudan is going to be weaker when it comes to positioning on the global stage?
I think we have tried actually to unite Sudan from 1956 until now. And what we had experienced in this united Sudan has been very, very bloody and very ugly. And we did not actually achieve anything globally. I think it is very important for us to split and then realize and rediscover ourselves. And then if there is a need for us to come together again as a stronger two entities, then definitely we will be stronger. But now we cannot actually be stronger because everybody now is blaming Sudan for what is happening in Darfur and what is happening in southern Sudan and also in eastern Sudan and many areas that are actually struggling to rediscover themselves so that they can actually be acknowledged as Sudanese.
Ambassador, let me ask you what you see the role of outside forces, outside powers in Sudan right now to be. The United Nations, of course, the United States to some degree, and even China. What role do you see these entities playing in the future of Sudan?
Let me comment on what has been said regarding the declaration of President al-Bashir that he will be the first president to recognize the independence of the South if this has been decided by our brethren in the South. He was not forced that, and I would like to refer those who think that because of pressure from the outside he was forced to say this. I would like to refer them to the fact that he is the first one who encouraged and supported the comprehensive peace agreement, and it was his own will and desire which lead to the signature of the comprehensive peace agreement. It was not the will or the desire of the international community or any other entity from outside the Sudan. So what he said is genuine, and we do not succumb to pressure, or we used to design our own policies according to our own vision and our own estimations.
So, Ambassador, a quick thought then on what role the international community might play generally in helping Sudan deal with the next step. If it is a case of secession from the South seceding from the North, what role can the international community play here?
I think the United Nations or other partners in the international community should help Sudan to put an end to the pending issues in the country, especially the conflict in Darfur. The government has also reiterated its commitment that Darfur should be resolved through political settlement, through negotiations, but we see little effort coming from the United Nations and the international community to put on the rebels and the rebel factions to come to the negotiating table. I think we need more effort from the international community in this regard. Equally, we expect that the international community should also put some effort in helping both parties in the South and in the North to find an acceptable solution for the pending issues regarding the borders, right, ABA, and the other issues.
Okay, Mr. Gadkut, let me ask you that in listening to what the ambassador says there and your view on the international community's role, has the international community failed Sudan so far?
You know, the international community has been very helpful in making sure that the agreement is signed in 2005. President Bush was instrumental in making sure that this agreement is signed. President Obama is also making sure that this agreement is implemented. And the international community, the UN, they have been having meetings in the UN Security Council to make sure that the referendum is held on time and the outcome is respected. China, Russia, and the United States and United Kingdom and France, they have been actually instrumental in making sure that the Council is united, and I have been very happy with the role of the international community.
With just 10-15 seconds to go, presumably it's better for the regional stability too. If Sudan can resolve this, it has some regional implications.
That is true. And definitely the neighboring countries, and you have heard Libya and Egypt, they went to Sudan and they talked to Bashir and they said, well, the referendum has to be held on time and the outcome must be respected. And also Kenya, Uganda and Ethiopia, they are very instrumental in making sure that the outcome is respected and the choice of the people is respected. Mr.
Gadkut and Ambassador Osman, I thank you so much for this debate. We hope to speak with you both again. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Now, remember, you can follow our program on Twitter. We'll keep you notified on upcoming shows, and you can send us questions and comments to pose to our guests. On the next show, how effectively can the future be predicted, and how can we use that knowledge to prepare for it? We'll talk to a trends expert who got it right 40 years ago and ask what we can expect in the coming decades. Be sure to tune in for that. From me and the team, we'll see you next time.
Da